Welcome to the ETFinalScore.com preview show. I'm your host, Trevor Pill, and joining me today, like usual, are these two great sports writers, Chris Perry, beat writer for the Robert E. Lee Red Raiders, and Travis Yosting, beat writer for the John Tyler Lions. Together, we're going to break down some of the top matchups taking place this week in high school football. Let's recap a little bit about last week and John Tyler crushing Lindale pretty much, Travis. Now, Jeremy Wilson, that defense looked awesome.
Yeah, the defense and special teams, they combined to score just as much as the offense. Pierre Leonard got his hand on 2 punt blocks. Dontavian Gross returned a punt for a touchdown. You had DeAndre Williams returning a kickoff for a touchdown, and then you had 2 pick sixes. So really, that defense, they're really the story of the game. But you can't forget about Jeremy Wilson. He takes the first touch of the game, 61 yards to the house.
You think that bye week they had kind of helped him a lot?
Yeah, I think they've kind of refocused now. They've gotten on a roll, and they've got the meat of the district schedule coming up now with Lufkin and Ennis back to back. That's going to be a big challenge for them.
Yeah, we'll talk a little more about Lufkin and John Tyler in a little bit. Now, also Brook Hill. Brook Hill ranked 18 in TAPS. Last week they defeated Shelton. Some people saying they haven't defeated nobody, but they've come a long way since last year. Don't you think, Chris?
Yeah, when they have defeated somebody, they beat Dallas Christian, and Dallas Christian was one of the best teams in that TAPS district. This is a big game though this week. This is between Brook Hill and Grace. I know we're going to talk about it a little bit more later, but I thought Brook Hill did what they had to do. Dallas Shelton was clearly the weakest team of the district, and they took care of them very, very handily. And now they move on to the next opponent.
Now, since we're already talking about Brook Hill and some of the TAP schools, let's roll on to it for this week's games. We have All Saints playing at Gorman, pretty much. So what is a little bit you can tell us about that game?
Well, it's going to be a great matchup. It's All Saints is great defense. They're one of the best defenses in the area, and Gorman, they've got one of the best offenses in the area. So really, it's going to be a matter of who wins that matchup. If All Saints can slow down Gorman enough. A big key for the All Saints defense this year has been forcing turnovers. If they can force some turnovers, I think they can come out with the win.
Anything about All Saints and Gorman?
Well, I've underestimated All Saints all year. I think I've only picked them once or twice, and they just keep on keeping on. This is going to be a tough matchup though against Bishop Gorman and just their array of talent, running backs and receivers and all the different things they can throw at them. But I wouldn't put it past All Saints to shock us all once again and keep this thing rolling.
Now, since you said something earlier, Brook Hill at Grace, how do you expect that game to turn out?
Well, last year I covered this game, and it was tight. It was really tight. It was a tight contest, and Brook Hill emerged with it was like a 7-point victory. This year, they're both. I just see a higher scoring ball game. I see both offenses have been putting up some points. This is always interesting because Gabe Lucio, who's Brook Hill's running back, who ran all over Shelton, he transferred from Grace to Brook Hill. So last year was the first time he'd played against Grace, and that was kind of interesting. This will be the second time. So that's always you always throw a little gasoline on a fire between two rivals as it is. But this is interesting. I think Brook Hill on paper has more than Grace Community does, just based on they've both played Dallas Christian, and Brook Hill was able to find a way to stop them, whereas Dallas Christian kind of imposed its will on Grace like they like to do against everybody else.
Grace couldn't get off the field on third down.
Yeah, and see Brook Hill was able to get them, but of course that's one game. Now you put them together, it's going to be home at Grace. They're going to be fired up to try to bounce back. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and obviously the Cougars are going to be looking at it as if they get this win, if they beat Brook Hill, they're right back in the hunt for the district title. Because then all three of the top 3 teams would have a loss. But then of course you have to remember Gorman and All Saints one of those will be undefeated too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's some of those highlights are something to look out for coming from ET Final Score. We'll have some people out there covering that game. One more topic before we go over to our sponsor. We have Lindale at Jacksonville. Now, both these teams are 0-2 in district. Is this a must-win for both teams pretty much, but one's going to have to come out with a loss?
Yeah,
absolutely. And the way I look at it, I thought Lindale actually played pretty decent against John Tyler at times. If you look at the stats offensively, they only had they didn't have that many fewer yards than John Tyler. It was just the special teams, the punts, the kickoffs, the interceptions. That's what really cost them. And if they continue to play like that, they can get a win or two and get things rolling.
What do you think about that game, Chris?
Well, this game last year was ridiculous. This was the triple overtime game, if I remember correctly, where there were penalties and turnovers, and Jacksonville turned the ball over so many times and still almost won in overtime. But I have a feeling that this game is set up for McCown and the Jacksonville Indians to win at home. This is a tough ask for Lindale. This is a tough ask. The schedule makers did not do them any favors with how things are going. And now you have to go to a fired up Jacksonville to try to break through. It's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, again, Jacksonville and Lindale both 0-2 in district. Each team looking for a win to get out of that slump, but unfortunately, one team is going to have to walk away with a loss. Now let's head to one of our sponsors. When we get back, both these guys are going to break down their team, and also they're going to pick some wins for this week.
At Kelly Community Federal Credit Union, we have a monopoly on savings. So cruise on over to a Kelly Community branch today for big savings on loan rates and better earnings on deposits and investments.
At Kelly Community.
Welcome back to the ETFinalScore.com preview show. I'm Trevor Peel. Breaking things down are Travis Yosting and Chris Perry. Now, Travis, like we talked about earlier, JT put on a clinic against Lindale. This week, they play another top-ranked team in Lufkin. Now, Lufkin's been looking great so far this year. What is a little bit you can tell us about Lufkin?
Well, Lufkin, yeah, they've got a great team. They're well-rounded. Last year they beat John Tyler 52-28. And really, the guy to watch out for on Lufkin is that receiver Kiki QT. He can return kicks, he can return punts, he can go deep, he can come short on the receiving time. And he's going to be someone that they're going to have to lock down on.
Now, what is something that JT will have to capitalize on this week to pull out a win against Lufkin?
Really what it's going to come down to is what cost them the game last year, which is offensive line play. Last year, Giovanni McAllister was taken down 15 times behind the line of scrimmage, and that can't happen if they want to win. They've got their offensive line is really playing well right now, and I think that's going to bode well for them against Lufkin.
Now, also, last week was such a blowout. Do you think the players themselves have kind of got it in their head, we just killed a team, demolished them, or they just kind of wiped that slate clean and they know what Lufkin's about?
Yeah, I think just based on the fact that they lost to Lufkin last year, and the fact that, if they had thought that before earlier in the year, the loss to Lee, really got them refocused. So I don't think that'll be a problem.
What do you think about that Lufkin and John Tyler matchup?
Well, Lee played Lufkin the second week of the season, and I was impressed with QT, but you cannot overlook their running back. Their running back, he's a one-cut back that he just seems like he can make one cut and he's in space and he's gone. And I know that he gave Whitehouse trouble as well, and Jacksonville for that matter. Nacogdoches for that matter. So I think that is John Tyler's going to have to be very, very mindful of their running game as well as their passing game. And I think they've watched enough film on Kiki QT. They're not going there to let him beat them. I mean, they're going to find a way to contain him on special teams, on kickoffs, on punt returns. And then it comes down to just exactly what Travis said, making plays, scoring touchdowns, not making mistakes.
So we will have highlights coming from that game as well. Something to watch out for is John Tyler's taking on Lufkin, two ranked teams. Now let's switch gears over to you, Chris, and the Red Raiders. Now, of course, they had a bye week last week, some time to rest, get ready for Lakeview Centennial this week there. What do you think the Red Raiders have used their bye week for to prepare for the Patriots? One word: tackling. And it's just that. When I talked to the coaches, there was a whole lot of up downs going on. Of course, that's when you played football. Up downs when they blow the whistle and you hit the ground, get back up, give that. Yeah. They're not fun. And every time someone missed a tackle, didn't break down on a tackle, did not do what they were supposed to do on defense, the whole defense had to stop and do them over and over and over again. They're just trying to. Right now, the biggest thing that's happening to Robert E. Lee are quick passes where one guy is manned up on a defender, where they've spread Lee out and it's one-on-one, and they're getting by him, and then there's nothing but green grass afterwards. So they're trying to find a way to say, look, you give up 3 or 4 yards, that's not the end of the world. Just do not go for the big hit or the big strip, and then because once you're by him, that's it. Now it's a foot race to try to see who can catch. And then we've noticed that the guys in Garland ISD, the Garland ISD district, are fast. And they're going up against another one from Lakeview Centennial who actually is talking to the coaches. Their receiver, who's got he's got about 500 yards receiving. He's faster than almost anybody they faced this year. Now, like you're saying, Lakeview Centennial is coming off a bye week as well. They lost to Rockwall, got blown out 70-35. What is something that you can kind of tell us about Lakeview Centennial and maybe some of their players and maybe what they do offensively, defensively? Well, they played Rowlett and they lost to Rowlett at the very end, just exactly like how Robert E. Lee lost to Rowlett. Rockwall, it's tough to judge a team against Rockwall because Rockwall looks to be the clear, undisputed favorite of the district. I mean, they're taking apart teams. So you've had two teams now
You've got Lakeview Centennial who's 0-2 in district, so they have to have this one. So they're going to be very, very pumped up. And now you got Lee, who's 1-1, and they want to try to get things kick-started. So they need this one, and they've had a week to simmer on it. So I think we're in for a pretty good. I think we're in for a good ball game.
What are some things that Lee's going to have to utilize and do to walk away with the win out of Garland?
Well, they've done such a good job on not turning the ball over this year, and that's going to have to continue. They just can't give up the big play. The majority of their plays on defense have been big plays. They very, very rarely have been driven upon. It's been 40, 45 yards, 50 yards, touchdown, or something like that. Offensively, they just can't come out flat like the way they did against Rowlett, and they know that. I mean, the coaches, the players. You talked to them this week. They knew that's exactly what happened last week. They need to come out. And they need to come out and be pumped up from the very beginning and take it to a team instead of having to come back from 14 points down in the second half, which is what they've kind of had to do, against John Tyler and against Saxe and against Rowlett. I mean, eventually those comebacks have got to stop. You got to get ahead of somebody before instead of having to constantly come back.
Exactly. And so John Tyler having a top-ranked matchup this week as well is going to be a great game. Robert E. Lee, the Red Raiders, also 1-1 in district right now. They're looking to walk away from a win in the tough 6A division. Now we're going to move over, do something we haven't done at all so far this year. We're going to have our TV show type of picket line, something y'all do in the paper anyways every week. Something, for instance, like when Chris picked Lee to beat JT was correct. Now we're going to do that here. I've chosen 5 teams, kind of for you two, to throw out who you think is going to win. My first one, I'll throw to you, Chris, is Corsicana at Nacogdoches.
Is this speed round? We just give you a name, or is this like game day where we have to kind of give you the reason why we think?
Go ahead and just give me who you got winning it.
Now, Corsicana, Nacogdoches?
Corsicana, Nacogdoches. Nacogdoches, what are you?
Yeah, I'm going Nacogdoches.
Nacogdoches. Another one, Lindale at Jacksonville.
I think Lindale comes out with this one.
And see, I'm going with Jacksonville.
Okay.
I think Jacksonville at home, I think they're going to take it.
Finally got a different matchup. Now we got Lufkin at John Tyler.
It's going to be the John Tyler Lions.
John Tyler Lions.
I have to agree. JT.
Of course. I figured you would, Travis. And then we got Athens and Van. This seems like it's going to be the toughest matchup for Van in this district and possibly Athens as well. Who you got?
It's tough because Van had a bye week. You forgot how good they were. But I still think that Van's going to take this.
Yeah, Van, the way they've been playing, I can't pick against them.
You can pick against them. And then we got the TAPS matchup of Brook Hill at Grace. One of the top ones right here. Someone could walk away. Brook Hill could still be undefeated. Who you got, guys?
I think I'm going to have to go with Brook Hill.
Brook Hill?
I have to go with Brook Hill, too. Beating Dallas Christian makes them the clear – I mean, on paper, makes them the clear favorite.
Well, we have one different matchup that these went opposed on right here. We'll have the results next week on maybe someone's undefeated, someone's going down with a loss. Well, thanks, guys, for your picks. We're going to have everything next week. Thanks for watching the ET Final Score preview show. Just want to remind you fans to stay locked in Friday night on Facebook and Twitter. We will be delivering you live highlights of many games, including the TAP schools and also the 2 highly ranked schools in Lufkin and John Tyler, and much more. Check out the scoreboard at ETFinalScore.com or on our app. It is the most up-to-date and accurate scoreboard in East Texas. Also, don't miss the ET Final Score Sports post-game show that will have highlights from mostly every game starting at 11 on CW. Until next week, enjoy your Friday night football.